Hey you guys, I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a while since I've made an investment videos and I apologize for that. I've been doing a lot of outdoor activities, camping, fishing, grilling, going on road trips with my nephews this summer here in Minnesota. So we don't get a lot of warm months in Minnesota. Usually it's really cold, frozen tundra. So I haven't made a lot of video and I apologize for that. But today I will go over the question that a lot of people have been asking me this last year. What are some reading materials they can start with to understand investment more? I'm not a professional advisor, but for my past, from the amount of books that I've read, there were a few that stood out for me personally. And these are the three that I picked out for beginning investors or even people that want to look into financial independence. And the first book we'll start with is Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I love this book. I read this book about 3 or 4 years ago, which was, gosh, I wish I would have read it much sooner. I remember having a student in my class, she was like 9 or 10, and she said her dad has already gotten her to start reading this book. It teaches us a lot of things. In regard to finances, it teaches us the difference between an asset and a liability. It teaches us taxes, you know, the difference between the rich and the poor. The poor goes to work, we get taxed, and then whatever's left we spend. Whereas the rich, business owners, self-employed, they go to work, you know, they spend whatever they want to spend, they expense it out, such as even travel, car included, flight, meals, cell phones, all of those expenses. And then at the end, they'll even defer their taxes, whatever their gains are. If they're in real estate, they can defer their gains and put it into a different investment. And at the end, they pay taxes on whatever's left, which is literally most of the time nothing. You know, Robert goes through that. He also goes through another point that really stood out to me. Saving. You know, the rich, when they get their paycheck, they save first. They allocate a certain amount into their savings, and then whatever's left they spend on miscellaneous. Whereas with a lot of us, even with myself in my early 20s, when I get my paycheck, you know, I go out, I eat, I drink, you know, I buy something nice for myself at the end of the month. I save $50, $100, which that's not the way to go if you want to be financially independent. So Robert goes through a lot of that, and it really, when I read the book, it changed my whole point of view on money. Robert also talks about the difference between working for money and having money to work for you. So there's a lot of things that I like about this book. As soon as you can read, I mean, you can read it. I love it. I really, truly love this book. The second book I'm going to talk about is Benjamin Graham's The Intelligent Investor. My favorite investment book. This is financial independence, but this is my favorite investment book, and even Warren Buffett talks a lot about it. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this book. A lot of investors talk about it. I've heard a lot about it. I finally got around to reading it. And Benjamin Graham was a professor, I believe, at Columbia University back in 1928, and he talks about value investing. And he wrote this book in 1949, and Warren Buffett has a very high regard for this book. I believe it's one of his favorite books. And how Graham teaches his lesson in this book is he uses a character called Mr. Market, and every day Mr. Market would come to your house and he'd give you an offer, which is like it's a stock offer, whether to buy or not. And he plays through the scenario, and he plays through why it's a good thing to buy now, why it's a good thing to not buy, and he compares one to another. But that's realistically, that is how I view investment. I mean, every day you can, you open up I'm in Minnesota, so I wake up at 8:30, I'm faced with an option. You know, I'm faced with multiple options. I look at different stocks, I look at Google, I look at Whiting Petroleum, I look at Marathon Oil, all of these companies, and you see a price for each one of those companies. And you ask yourself, is it a good time to buy? Because there are intrinsic value to every single company, to every single price, and if you think about it every day, there is really an answer to that. And this book teaches you how to get closer to that answer. Is it a good time to buy or not? Yes or no? And that's why I love this book. This book This is for, as for this book, I got this on, I believe it was my 22nd birthday. My brother bought it for me, Stock for the Long Run. I personally love this book. If you're into investment, if you're into stock particularly, this book compares ETF, mutual funds, index fund, bonds, and it compares all of it to stock and why for the last few centuries stock has always proven to be better in the long run. Okay, we're not, if you look at all the graphs, the stock goes, you know, the S&P, NADEX, New York Stock Exchange, Dow Jones, it goes up and down, up and down. If you look back at the crash back in 2000 for all the IT, all the computer companies, it went down. 2008, it went down again, the real estate crash. But every single time, it went back up. So what this talks about is, if you stretch it out and look at it at a long run, what does it look like? And every single time, the stock will beat everything else. ETF, mutual funds, index, treasury, bonds, everything. And that's why I read this book when I was 22, and it really stood out to me. It stood out to me, and that's what I want to tell you guys. If you guys want to get into investing, you ask me what's a good way. You can search it up. You can search videos up on YouTube. So you can search professionals. You can search a lot of different theories, a lot of ideas. You can search all of that up, and you can learn from it. But these are books, if you do want to read it, I highly suggest it. And I personally believe that for almost every single problem in this world, there's a book that can solve it. You just got to read the right book. You got to identify what your problem is. You know, if you want to get into investing, read this. Real estate, stocks. If you want to get straight into stock, how to identify a good company. This company, this book. And if you want to choose what kind of investment is good, whether it's stock, mutual fund, index fund, bonds, then read this one, Stock for the Long Run. Every single question you have, there's a book, you gotta find the right one. And there's another book here, my buddy down from Texas bought from, because he knows I love investing in oil. It's The Epic Quest for Oil, Money, and Power. It's a bestseller. When you get into investment, sometimes it's overwhelming. It's a lot to look at. So for me personally, I know you're supposed to diversify, but I'm still young, so I'm willing to take a lot more risk, which is why I do not diversify my portfolio as much as I believe I should. I focus on oil, and I read this book, and it really helps me. I'm actually not done. Little Lipa, if you're watching this, I'm not done with this book. It's too thick for me. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any question, comments, or if any one of you guys have read any of these books, let me know. Now also, I add the link to the books on Amazon in the description below. If you like this video, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and please share this video if you find it helpful. Thanks a lot, guys.